Bom dia, everybody. Bom dia, Sr. Christian.
What's going on, Mitch? What's going on, buddy?
Welcome, everybody, to Tuga, the Everything Portuguese Soccer podcast. I am Mitch Freire.
I'm Christian Freire.
Welcome, guys. It's been a minute. Christian and I have been on a ridiculous hangover since the World Cup.
Some would call it a bender.
We're still recovering, but we're finally back into it. Getting to you guys right before the new year. It's been a big year, man.
Huge.
It's been a
massive year. Lots has happened.
Lots has happened this year in the world of Bola. But bunch of things to get into today, guys. A lot of things have happened since the last time we came to you guys. Obviously, Portugal went out of the World Cup. We've got lots to go over about what happens now in this Seleção. Tio Fernando finally was axed.
Peace. We're almost like ESPN FC without Ronaldo. Now we don't have Fernando Santos. What do we fucking talk about, man?
Who do we roast now? So we'll talk about a little bit about what's next for the Seleção, who is potentially kind of slotted right now to take over for Fernando Santos, and obviously some big news in terms of Ronaldo, the signing for Al Nassr. We'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll also get into Liga Portugal, which kicked back off this week. So we'll go into all of the big three and the results and what's going on in the world there. But first and foremost, guys, sad day in the world of Bola. Pelé passed away earlier this week, finally ending his battle. And, obviously one of the all-time greats, one of the OG GOATs, we can say.
Yeah, 3 World Cups.
I mean, amazing. We got some stats here to talk about. Pelé scored a total of 1,283 goals in his career, including 77 for Brazil. He won 3 World Cups, 2 World Club Cup championships, and 9 Sao Paulo state championships. He was signed to Santos when he was 15, scored 4 goals on his league debut in a match against Corinthians on September 7th, 1956. At the age of 17, Pelé became the youngest ever winner of a World Cup. He also scored twice in the final at home against Sweden. On November 19th, 1969, Pelé scored his 1,000th career goal. Pelé is the 5th on the all-time World Cup goal scorers list with 12 and the second highest placed Brazilian behind Ronaldo. Pelé scored 92 hat-tricks and scored 4 goals on 31 occasions, 5 on 6 occasions, and once scored 8 goals in 1 match.
Well,
so to that, we will say, rest in peace, Pelé.
Rest in peace. Speaking of that, Happy New Year, guys. And I wanted to pour a drink out for Pelé.
There you go. And to bring in the new year. What do you got? The nice little Vin do Porto there?
Vin do Porto. There you go.
There you go. Tá bom.
Tá bom. Oh, hungover, eh? So.
Thanks, buddy. Nossa, vamos lá. Ching.
Ching, man.
Happy New Year, guys. There you go. Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year.
Best. And to Santos, out. Thank you for everything you did, but we got to celebrate that too.
There you go. Oh, that's nice. All right, guys. So let's jump right into it. World Cup hangover. Portugal lost to Morocco. Ronaldo. Do you think that was his last game for the Seleção?
It's hard to say. If you asked me that question before he signed for Al Nassr, I would say hell no.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, I mean, I'm sure the next coach will call him up just given his name, but I don't know too many players that play for Al Nassr or any players that do get called up to the national team that's not Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
I think last time I checked, that's the 27th ranked league in the world. So, I mean, given that those circumstances, who knows? Possibly it's his last time, but given what he means to Portugal and his name and everything, I mean, it's honestly 50-50 at this point.
So Fernando Santos didn't resign right away. He went back. Obviously, they had a meeting with Fernando Gomes, and the decision was made that they were going to go their separate ways, I think they did let him go. I do believe that there was some sort of compensation payout for Fernando Santos, and they kind of parted ways amicably. How much do you think? I guess we'll start with. Did you agree with Ronaldo not starting the game against Morocco? Number one, and number two, how much did him not playing Ronaldo in the two games, or not starting Ronaldo in the two games against Switzerland and Morocco, do you think had an effect on him actually being let go?
So this argument about whether it was the right decision to play Ronaldo or not, you can argue. It's like the Messi Ronaldo debate prior to Messi winning the World Cup. You can argue both sides, and they're both valid. I think you can totally argue that he should have played. You can fucking have an 2-hour argument of why he should have played, and then you can do it the other way because of what everything he's done leading up to that tournament. I don't think him not playing Ronaldo is what let him go. I think it was he was already been talked about a long time. He should have been let go years ago. I think he should have been let go after the last tournament. There's been pressure to let him go for a very, very long time. Given the team that we were playing, Morocco, although they played really good, they had a great World Cup, even played well against France. We had to win that game. That was a big thing. Going into the World Cup through a playoff, that was another big thing. Going out of the last tournament the way we did, that was another thing. It was just a build-up, and then that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So, I mean, I think it was the right decision. I honestly think he should have got let go a long time ago.
We talked about that lots.
But we'll dive into that. But yeah, I think it had nothing to do with him being let go.
Do you think there's a rift now between Ronaldo and Santos?
I mean, I don't know about a rift. I think there's mutual respect there.
Ronaldo still has not commented on
Santos. Yeah, leaving. But to be
one of the only players.
Ronaldo's not that guy.
Pep.
Ronaldo has not said anything to Benzema winning the World Cup, and they're like best friends. So I think maybe there's.
I mean, he's oftentimes said that Ronaldo looks at Santos almost like a grandfather. He calls him Uvelho. And Santos has coached him since he was 19, man.
Yeah, he was the first player to Ronaldo. I don't know if you guys know that.
I think there's definitely hurt feelings there. Yeah. I think Ronaldo is absolutely pissed at Santos.
Yeah,
150%. He was the only major player not to comment.
Yeah,
and not to put out a public statement when Santos was let go. Pep, within 10 minutes, had put out a statement saying, "Thank you, Mister."
Yeah, I mean,
I think he's absolutely pissed.
He might be, but I mean, we sit back and it's easy to judge, but like the person that Ronaldo is, this was his last World Cup. And again, I'm not saying it was a bad decision. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, looking through his lenses. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he has an argument. I'm not saying it's right or not.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he has an argument. It is his last World Cup. I mean, say what you want and think what you want about the guy, but he's carried Portugal, not obviously this year, but in prior years for many, many, many years. He's in a way put us on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one time where it's like the team has to carry him, or the first year that the team has to carry him, his antics the last game before didn't help, but the one game where it's his last World Cup in a knockout game, he gets benched. I'm not saying it was wrong, but I mean, through his eyes, he'll be butthurt, man, because he feels wronged, you know what I mean, and betrayed. So I think that's through his lens. That's what's going through his brain.
Isn't that the problem, though? Isn't that the problem with Ron at this point in his career?
I mean, that's what also carried him here. So it's like right now it's a negative. I'm not saying it's right. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that personality trait. I mean, if you could praise him for the good, I mean, now you said it best a few times already, that now that he's not producing, it's more talk. It's more like cringy. But before, he's done it before. Like there was a famous Roma interview where one of the journalists was talking about him having a poor spell of scoring away goals.
Yeah.
And then he went right to his face. He's like, name one player that scored more away goals than me. I don't think you can you? And then he walked out. If he did that now, it'd be like, oh, who is this guy? Otherwise, this guy's toxic. But before,
Yeah.
He can say those, and then he went out and scored a hat trick that game. So
Mhm.
before he did do those things, but he backed it, like you said, with big performances.
Yeah.
And then now with age, I mean, it catches up to everybody. He caught up to him a little bit later, but now his performances are not there. So it's a little bit more toxic.
What do you think? What do you think has been the biggest change? Like, I feel like there's been such a drastic change in his play from last year with Man United to this year. And no doubt that age is a factor. But this guy scored 24 goals last year with a Man United squad that was not very good.
It's horrible.
What changed, man?
I mean, I hope people don't think this is a sellout answer. I mean, what's done is done. He's in Al Nassr right now. I don't have to defend the guy. The guy has an amazing career. But I honestly think people don't have to agree with me on this one. But I think it was when he lost his child. It did something to him. I'm not saying that it justifies everything he did. Please, I'm not saying that.
Mhm,
I'm just saying that I think if you want to talk about like the beginning of the end, so to speak,
mhm.
I think that's what it was.
You think that was what marked it?
It was the trigger why he delayed he delayed his preseason, and it was a
Mhm,
trigger for a
mhm.
lot of things, and it was just started built up,
Just
and
build up.
yeah, and then here we are.
There's a lot of shit going on there.
Yeah.
I don't think he's well.
Yeah, I don't think
Like
he's well.
mentally, I don't think he's well. I think he's and not only do I not think he's well mentally, I think he's got really, really bad people around him.
Yeah, I think
I
so
don't
too.
think he has the right people surrounding him.
No.
Like I don't know, and Adam's giving me a look. I'll tell you why I say that. This is kind of, I guess, jumping a little bit ahead to the Al Nassr thing, but I just throughout the World Cup we saw, for example, his sisters come out and make very public comments about he needs to come home, he's being disrespected, he shouldn't be, treated like this. You've got his own wife coming out saying, someone who Ronaldo considered a friend and had so much respect for, referring to Fernando, made the wrong choice today. Hopefully he gets it right, in the next game. I think, when you make that much money and you are that famous, I feel like you kind of enter into a little bit of a bubble world.
You do.
Where you're kind of outside of the realm of reality. And I think so many people around Ronaldo are so dependent on him, are so dependent on his fame, on his success, on the money he makes, that I don't think they're giving him good counsel. I think a lot of what goes on around him and a lot of what people are telling him is the right things to do is all predicated a lot off of their own personal kind of interests, their own self-interests, and not necessarily what's best for Ron. And I think the people around him are so concerned with kind of making sure that Ron is happy with them and that they are yes men to Ron, that it ends up being a little bit counterproductive for Ronaldo, because I really don't think that these decisions that he's made, beginning with, doing this Piers Morgan interview right before the World Cup, right on to now joining Al Nassr, I don't know that he is having good counsel in his life. I don't know.
And I do think I 100% agree with you. I think there's even another avenue to that. I think it's not only that. I do think he might have some people that don't want to benefit. Like they all benefit from it financially, but I think another avenue is they're scared to have hard conversations with them, even though they do generally care about them. They're scared to go to tell Ronaldo, hey man, you're doing this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. They're scared maybe of the repercussions.
And I think he definitely displayed.
Like look what happened to Santos.
Well, and not only that, apparently there's rumors him and George Menz are on the outs too.
Yeah,
because there's rumors that George Menz was not happy with the interview that he did with Piers Morgan, because George Mins has a very long-lasting, very good relationship with Man United, and it kind of put him in the middle. Imagine, man, he was the agent that brokered this deal. So it really puts him in a shitty situation because he does a lot of business with Man United on a day-to-day, but Ronaldo's obviously his biggest client, and kind of put him in an awkward situation. So I think what we saw from the Piers Morgan interview, if anything, is that Ronaldo's definitely has a very narcissistic personality. And with that, I think comes a lot of those things that you just talked about, where if you do not have people around you that are supporting your every decision and question you even, are they kind of kicked out of the circle, if you will.
Yeah.
And if he has shown history of that very well may be why you've got so many people who are backing his every decision, whether it be a good decision or a bad decision. People don't want to risk being thrown out of the circle, if you will.
In a state where say what you want about the guy. Yeah, he obviously, to be at that level, whether you're more vocal about it or not, you have narcissistic tendencies.
For sure.
I mean, Messi has it too.
100%.
Obviously, he's a little bit better at it. He's not doing Piers Morgan's interviews, but you have to have that. But it's like you said, right now he's I follow this guy since I was a child. We all have. I know every stat about this guy. And given everything he's saying, yeah, he has his narcissistic tendencies, but I have a gut feeling. I'm sure everybody here has a gut feeling something's wrong with him, man, because although he's doing these things, and he's had a little bit of history in the past of being a little bit, like you said, narcissistic and doing things like that, you could also see something's off with him mentally, just because of like things he's been doing. He's never been suspended. He's never walked off a field. He's never, bashed a club the way he has, even after the way Real Madrid treated him. He's never went out and did a Piers Morgan interview with him. I think there's something wrong with him. It could be his child. It could be other things. It could be a buildup. Sometimes it's a buildup of all these all these people around you. Sometimes it's toxic people in your circle, like you just said. It could be a million things. It could be all of it at once. But something is definitely up with this guy. And it's sad to see because, like you said, the people around him are definitely not helping the situation. When that thing happened with Fernando Sanchez, instead of going out publicly, maybe go and talk with Ronaldo, be like, hey man, like what you're saying is not right. Like they respect you, whatever. There's a million of different ways to go about it, or behind the scenes. You don't have to do it publicly. Yeah. Maybe Ronaldo can have a hard conversation with him, whether it's right or wrong, behind closed doors. There's so many different avenues this could have went, but like you said, I do think it's a circle around him that's it's not the best. Whether it's self-created or not, I personally don't think it's the best.
Man, and I'll go a step further, and I'll even say that he really buried himself in this World Cup. He was, the maker of his own demise in this World Cup. And it started with the Piers Morgan interview.
Yeah.
The one thing I can say, watching Argentina play, watching Messi, and as much as it hurt me, honestly, to see Messi lift the World Cup, to know that Messi is going to have that on his resume and Ronaldo won't. The one thing I can say about Argentina is that team came together for Messi. You said a couple of minutes ago, the team needed to carry Ron. That team carried Messi.
It did.
That team was willing to die out there so that Messi could lift this trophy. And you can argue that it was dirty, and you can argue that it was this or that. But at the end of the day, that team was willing to leave everything on that field for that man. And when Ron does what he does before the World Cup, doing that Piers Morgan interview, it was selfish. And it brought a lot of negative attention to that dressing room.
Did.
And it divided the dressing room. And it was a selfish thing that he did for his own personal interest, for his own career, that ended up, I think, casting a very, very dark shadow on the Selecao. And you can say, man, that they had a good energy. That shit, I don't care who you are. If you are a player and you go in to a press conference and 12 questions get asked, and out of the 12 questions, 8 of them are about Ronaldo in this stupid interview, that's going to cause shit. You can sit there and tell me it's not causing anything all you want. When you've got the Ronaldo's sister coming out on social media telling him to go home and to stop the disrespect because he didn't start against Switzerland, that shit's going to cause things. These guys have phones, man. They're on social media. They're seeing this shit come out there. They're seeing the post his wife's putting out there. They're seeing all this stuff, man. They watch the interview. They're all going to form their own personal opinions about what happened with him at United and about whether or not the timing of this was right. They're all going to form their own opinions on whether or not he should have started in the game against Switzerland.
I think timing was, you hit the nail on the head, it's timing.
And the timing was off, man. And he put his own personal career and his own self-interests ahead of the Selecao before arguably his last chance at the World Cup. And I think he is the maker of his own demise in this respect. And I think he only has himself to blame because this team was good enough. And what Ron needed to realize was that, everybody's going to remember Messi won a World Cup. Nobody's going to necessarily going to remember his performance at the World Cup. Nobody's really going to remember that. Everybody's just going to say Messi these guys have done so much in their careers that nobody's going to come out and be like, man, Messi is greater because he had such an amazing World Cup, that last World Cup, and he won. No, it's just going to be he had the World Cup. Ron just needed the World Cup on his resume. He needed to realize that he wasn't in form coming into this. He didn't need to be the star man. He just needed to push this team across the finish line. Whether he was on the field, putting the ball in the back of the net or not, if anything, the game against Korea should have been the big eye-opener for Ronaldo that I cannot do it. That should have been the biggest fucking eye-opener. After that game against Korea, he did things, man, that, you wouldn't see in second, third division. Turning your head on a corner kick, man? What are we talking about? He did things in that game that should have got him sat for the rest of the tournament. Let's call a spade a spade. If he's anyone else other than Ronaldo after that game, he's not stepping on the field for the rest of the tournament. And he should have, after that game, he should have been like, fuck, I can't do it. Whatever it is, but I need this World Cup. So I'm going to do whatever I can to get this team across the finish line. I don't know, man.
Honestly, what like you said with Argentina, that's what Ronaldo, I'm not saying, I think what destroyed it was that interview. Ronaldo has a resume and a status that Portugal should have did the same for him. But like you said, with that interview, divided the Dutch room. I think Portugal did have that moment with Ronaldo, and it was 2016 when Ronaldo went out hurt.
100%.
That's what you see in Argentina. Yeah. I mean, all Portuguese people listen.
Man, I'll say it right now: if Ronaldo doesn't get injured in that game final against France, we don't win.
But that's what
we don't win that game.
But they wanted to. That mentality. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know what your opinion is. That mentality that Portugal had when Ronaldo went down injured was the mentality Argentina had during this World Cup.
100%.
It was like 100%. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll play as a team. We'll whatever. That's what it was. And it was nice to see. And I feel like after, like you said, after that interview, Portugal was sort of they're just tired of hearing everything was about Ronaldo and this interview. But Ronaldo, I'm not saying this tournament. I'm just saying Ronaldo as what he means to our country. Put away all this side that stuff, all the other stuff. I'm just saying like what he means for us. That's the kind of finish he deserved, whether he won the World Cup or not.
Yeah, man.
That's how Ronaldo should have went out.
Yeah,
in my opinion. And
absolutely.
it's. I mean, given sometimes we have a little bit of difference of opinion, but at the end of the day, I think we could both agree that watching this, like Ronaldo signed for Al Nassr or Nassr, whatever the fuck their name is. Yesterday I had a moment. I processed it and that was really sad. I just had memories flow through my brain because ever since I was a child, even the Nexopia days. I don't know if you guys remember that. He was all over my page. That move where he did that step over and he made Ashley Cole do the splits. It was on my fucking page when I was like 15 years old. Like my whole life that I can remember was all Cristiano Ronaldo and like a little bit of Luis Figo. So this was like it was a saddening moment because of what he means to us. And it's at the end of the day, whether like it doesn't matter how we feel, it is sad how this legend of the game, this Portuguese legend too, and what he means for the world of football to go out like this.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes, like you said, it's deserved, but it's sad to see him go out like this because it at this point it's tarnished his image, because now instead of him having like a goodbye or like something will happen with like guys like David Villa, Suarez, Iniesta, they've all took big money moves in the end of their career, but it was different for them. The way he went out this time, it sort of leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
And it sucks because of what he means, man. And he deserves to go out like Messi, in my opinion.
We'll jump a little bit more into this Al Nassr move. But before we go and really take a deep dive into this next phase of Ronaldo's career, let's just quickly talk about the Seleção and what's next for the Seleção.
Yeah.
In terms of Selecionadores, I've often said I thought Abel Freire was the guy to take the Seleção into this next generation. Sooner though, if you want to put this up, this this was reported a few days ago that Abel Freire actually rejected the call, meaning the Seleção, the Federação actually was looking at Abel Freire. I thought timing wise, it also worked because the Brazilian league right now is kind of in their summer break, if you will. So, you know, it's off season right now in Brazil. He's in the off season with Palmeiras. I thought maybe this would be, you know, the perfect opportunity. I also think that Abel Freire right now, in my opinion, is the best Portuguese coach out there to date. I think what he's done in Palmeiras is incredible. And I think in terms of being able to get a group motivated enough to give us 2 championships, because I really do think that needs to be the goal for the Federação. Whatever coach that we sit down with, I think we need to be putting out there that we need to win 2 trophies. We need to win the next Euro and we need to win the next World Cup. And that needs to be the objective of this group. And we need a coach that can get on board with that and can get aligned with that. Abel Freire obviously coming out saying, you know, it's not the right time for me. And I don't know how it was sold to him, but man, I think, I don't know, again, you know, how it was brought up, but I think this needs to be sold to a coach, especially a younger coach. This is going to be a 4-year project that's going to involve us winning a Euro and a World Cup. He's a young coach, man. 4 years out of his career. I mean, he's going to coach into his 70s. 4 years out of your career is not a big deal at that age. You take a 4-year stint with arguably the greatest generation of players that's ever been assembled in a Seleção, and you say, we want you because we think you're the best coach and you're the best person to do this. It's going to be a 4-year commitment. I think I don't know how it was sold, but I think it needed to be sold in that way because I really do think Abel Freire is the guy to do it. I know you've talked lots about Jose Mourinho coming in. I don't think that's going to happen at this point with where he's at with Roma and everything. I don't think that that's happening. People are talking about Jorge Jesus potentially coming in. I don't really like Jorge Jesus as a coach. I mean, his antics are missed and his comedy is missed. The guy is definitely a personality, but I honestly don't think that he's the right coach for the Seleção either. So I don't know. That kind of leaves, if Jorge Jesus isn't the guy, do they put Rui Jorge, who's currently the U21 coach, do they put him in? Arguably not a bad decision because he's coached the majority of these guys throughout their youth level, careers in the Seleção. So is he the right guy? I don't know. What do you think? What's the next move here for the Seleção?
I think what we were arguing, at least in our group chat, was it was either Abel Freire or Jose Mourinho. I figured that Abel Freire wouldn't take it just because, like, usually young coaches don't like to take those positions. And then I was saying between those two, I mean, we got to get this right. So, given Mourinho's resume, yes, he's a little bit. I don't know if he's past it, but I think his way of coaching, much like George Jesus, maybe that way is a little bit old school now because you got to talk a certain way to players and stuff. But to win, like this is the thing. The standard has to be risen. Yes, we won a Nations League with Tio Fernando. Yes, we won a Euro, but we all know the game. The mentality was a small team mentality. Yeah. Yes, we got it, but the way we got the Euro was defend, score on the break, get a lucky goal, hold a lead. Yes, it worked. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And at that time, that's the coach we needed. Mm-hmm. Now, that standard has to be risen because, like you just said, we have the greatest Portuguese generation ever. I think even over the 2006, 2004 generation, which was an amazing generation. This one's even higher. We can have the whole starting 11 injured and put out a fucking world-class team, just like France did. We got to get it right. We have to get it right. If you want to take an extra year, I don't give a fuck. We got to get the right coach because this generation needs to be led the right way. In my personal opinion, again, thank you to the coach, the last coach. Thank you, Tio Fernando, for everything you did. But I think he wrecked a couple tournaments for us with his mentality. The way we went in, everything that happened, I think we already wasted a good 4 to 6 years of this generation. Now we're starting to get that prime. This is where we got to get it right because I talked about last podcast. Look at all the star players we have that are young. We have Diogo Costa in net. We have Antonio. We have João Cancelo still young. We have Dalot, that's a baby. We have Nuno Mendes, that's a baby. We have Vitinha, that's a baby. We have Gonçalo Ramos, that's a baby. Rafael Leão, they're just all this fucking crazy generation coming up. We need the right guy. We need the right leadership. We need the right mentality. That's why I was saying Jose Mourinho, because yes, his coaching mentality is a little bit past him, but everybody in that locker room respects Jose Mourinho because he's a god. So he could probably get away with those antics, and it would inspire that team. And I think in knockout football, I don't think there's anybody still better than Jose Mourinho. He can get that Morocco game. That would not happen with Jose Mourinho because he would have tactically switched that team. We could say Tio Fernando got it right against Switzerland, and he did. But he brought that exact same lineup, pretty much, other than Neves, into that game. And that lineup doesn't work for Morocco's system because we had to play more wing play. We can break that down after, but Jose Mourinho wouldn't do that. He would analyze that team and set a team to play against that because knockout football, he's the king of knockout football. So that's why I think Mourinho for this next generation would be the guy. And I would wait longer for him to be the guy. And if we have to wait longer, Rui Jorge, like you just said, knows everybody. He literally coached pretty much all those players, and he knows the next generation. So, I mean, if we can't get those guys, I think Rui Jorge is next to mine.
Yeah. I just don't think Rui Jorge has the experience.
Yeah, me too.
And the, he knows how to coach these kids, but I don't think he's got the experience to take us to that next level.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think he's got the winning experience to know what it takes to win. And that's why I like the Abel Freire, because he was young enough that I feel like he could unite the group. And I don't think these young players really get behind these old school coaches like they once did. I think these guys, they're wired differently. And I think I've seen some of the discourse that Abel Freire has given, some of the speeches he's given to his Palmeiras team, man. And fuck, he gets these guys fired up, man. Like, he really gets these guys going. And I feel like what he's done with Palmeiras, winning 2 Copa Libertadores, plus winning the Brazilian League, like, he knows how to win. He plays a nice, attractive style of bola. And I think more than anything, he really, really has a knack for getting these guys
and
to believe.
And that's why I think it was stuck between those two, in my opinion.
I don't think they should give up. Like if he said no, I think they should continue to try for a Belfleiter. I really do, because outside of a Belfleiter, really, who is there, man? Jorge Jesus? No, we can't bring Jorge
No.
Jesus. Jose Mourinho, as much as I see what you're saying, I don't think Jose Mourinho is the right coach for Portugal. I really don't. I don't think our players are right for his tactics. If we thought we were frustrated with Tio Fernando's tactics, you're gonna have to have both of us on suicide watch if Jose Mourinho came to this lesson. The way he plays, man, he's a 1-0 shutter down type of guy.
For sure. But that mentality's there. Like he wants to win.
I know, but Christian, we didn't like Tio Fernando, not because he didn't know how to win.
No.
It's because we didn't think he put the right tactics to get us playing the right style of ball for the team that we have. And I don't think Jose Mourinho would be any different. I think his tactics are very similar to Fernando Santos. Right? A little bit more effective in certain areas, a little bit different here and there, but not a whole lot different. Yeah. He's not Jose Mourinho is not the type of guy. You go up, you look at the stats right now with Roma, he's 7th or 8th place in the league, but in terms of goals for, he's like 12th for goals for in the league. He's a 1-0, 2-0 shutter down type of baller. That's what he plays, and it's worked for him. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I'm saying if we want a coach that's going to come in and that's going to take full advantage of the talent pool that we have, let's not forget. And you correct me if I'm wrong. When it comes to Jose Mourinho, the most talented group of players that he has ever coached was at Real Madrid. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Was he able to win a Champions League with that group of players?
No, but he won the league.
He won the league.
And he created that team.
Was he able to win a Champions League with that group of players?
But he was close.
Was he able to win a Champions League?
No.
He wasn't. I don't think he does as well with super, super talented teams because they want to attack. They want to go out there. They want to do different things. And Mourinho holds them back a little bit. And I think that's a perfect example of what Mourinho and his tactics can do with a overly talented squad was his time at Real Madrid.
But he won the league in a league, and I know it doesn't sound so minute, but that was a league with the greatest.
You're talking about a guy who won a Champions League with Porto. You're talking about a guy who won a Champions League with Inter Milan, and he wasn't able to win a Champions League with the side that he had at Real Madrid.
But to be fair to him, and I mean, I agree with you, he should have won, but he assembled that Real Madrid team, and he was the first coach to put Ronaldo as a number 9. And
for sure, man.
That Barcelona team, that was the greatest. I mean, I wasn't around in the 60s. That was the greatest team ever assembled, in my opinion. It was an amazing. And the fact that, I mean, I don't want to flip-flop, but going back that his Inter side beat that Barcelona team
for sure
says a lot. And
but you can't compare the talent on that Inter team to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
It's chalk and cheese, man. It's two different levels. I just don't think that, and I'm not taking anything away from Mourinho. Any of you guys listening here that think that I'm saying Mourinho's not a good coach, it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he's not the right coach for this generation of players. Just because he's a great coach doesn't mean he's the right coach. It's just like Fernando Santos. Nobody's going to sit here and say Fernando Santos is not a good coach. What the fuck are you talking about? He's an incredible coach. He's a great coach. He's just not the right coach for this Selecao.
So that being said,
and I think it's the same goes for Mourinho.
You don't think Mourinho can win with this squad? I think in knockout football,
I'm not saying I don't think he could win. I'm saying it's going to be the same scrappy type of play that we see, that we've been seeing with Fernando Santos. I don't think it would be very different from what we've seen from Fernando Santos.
I agree. I can get behind that, but I think in knockout football, I think if it's semifinal, I don't think you lose. Okay, I guess what I'm trying to say, this Morocco game, I don't think he loses. If that was Mourinho, I don't think we lose that game. I personally, I'll put anything on the line. I think if Mourinho was at the helm, we would have won that game. In a shootout, would have been probably 0-0 in the shootout.
What do you think Mourinho would have done differently? Because, and I'm going to challenge you on this because I disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree because that Morocco style is exactly the type of baller that Mourinho likes to play. So I think Mourinho would have had the exact same struggles that Fernando Santos had in terms of figuring out how to break those guys down. So what do you think Mourinho would have done differently?
So, because I'm giving Mourinho's resume, that's all I'm giving. Tactically, he's known for adjusting his lineup given the team he's playing. Always throughout his career, he is known for knockout football. That's why he adjusted it with Barcelona when he played back in prime Mourinho. He can adjust. So he would have he would have had a different lineup against Switzerland than he did Morocco. We've seen it. We understand. We're not a coach. We don't coach these big teams. I even said it. You can go back. Quote me on it. I said this game is going to be different because I watched Morocco play. It's going to be more wing play. I just think, I mean, we can't tell the future. Maybe we would have lost still. But I think his tactics would have been different. I think he would have went through the wing a little bit more. I think guys like Cancelo would have played. I honestly think Ronaldo would have played, whether it was he deserved it or not. We can argue that. But I think we knew, I even said we had to score headers. It was all going to be crosses. Yeah. I just think he wouldn't have started the same lineup. I mean, it's hindsight is 2020. Yeah. But I think tactically he would adjust it.
You might be right. I don't know. I think Mourinho's forte is back foot. He likes to play off the back foot, meaning he's sitting back, he's counterattacking, and I think the game against Morocco would have thrown a wrench into his tactics, just like it did Tio Fernando. And I think that the challenge that we had against Morocco, Fernando Santos had a very specific tactic, which was he was trying to get his tactic in implementing Neves in that game was trying to get long balls in behind their fullbacks and catching their fullbacks high up the field and basically trying to catch them basically on one-off advantages down the wing play, get a cross in, and there was no interplay. We 100%. Lost the interplay. There was nothing in the middle of the park. We weren't getting creative in the middle of the park. We weren't trying to get behind their lines and do 1-2 passes to try to unlock space. We weren't doing enough of that. It was constantly a long ball to either the left or the right side of the park, trying to unlock our fullbacks high up the field and catch their fullbacks high up the field. And it was constant. And it's not necessarily, there was a point to that because there was space there. Just Neves was off. His balls were not pinpoint. And it just wasn't working. And there was nothing outside of that strategy. Like 100%. Once that kind of broke down and we were realizing that strategy wasn't working, there needed to be a change, and there wasn't. So, man, I think at this point, what I'd like to see from the Seleção is bringing in a coach who is young enough to willing to work with this team, but they need to have the resume to merit working with this group of guys, man. And I think that list gets very short,
I mean, we need a guy, like you were saying, he put Neves to do what you just said, but we had inverted players. We had guys like Bernardo. Yeah. We had guys like Guerreiro. We had all these guys that like to play through the center. This is a game for Cancelo. I know he didn't have a good game. Yeah. Play him on the left. When he came on, what a difference. A game for Lyon, a game for these, or bring up certain players that have those characteristics so we can switch it. Don't have players with the same characteristics all the time that just play invertedly. I do agree with you. I think Abel Ferreira would have been the right guy. We need guys to play these young guys to take a little bit more risks. We need to develop the talent pool because this World Cup, it's easy to say this player, that player, but these young players should have been developed before the World Cup. I'm going to
ask you, outside of, we've talked about Abel Ferreira, that's off the table. José Mourinho looks like it's off the table. We both don't like Jorge Jesus. Another list of 3 guys I'm going to mention here that are potential: André Villas-Boas, Nuno Espírito Santo, and Bruno Lage. Any of those 3 guys stand out to you?
Not Bruno Lage. Because the thing, it's not to say they're not a good coach. This, I don't want to keep repeating myself. This is the golden generation. We got to get it right. We got to get the right. We don't have guys that are half-ass resumes. You know what I mean? I don't think any of those guys are the right guy. We like I just said earlier, if we got to wait a little longer to get the right, if we have
Andre
to get,
Villas-Boas, you don't think is the right guy?
I don't think I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I just don't think he's the right guy. And plus, I mean, he's a professional at the end of the day, but he has really strong ties to Port. Like he wants to be the president of that team. So whether he does it or not, is he going to be a little bit more biased to Port? Like little things like that. And I don't think he's a winner. Yeah, he won a couple leagues with Port. He was sought after to be the next Jose Mourinho. But I mean, he's not that guy, man. And if we have to go, like I said, outside of Portuguese coach to get it right, I mean, I don't know what you think of Van Gaal. We never mentioned Van Gaal. He threw himself out there. No, I don't think he's the right guy, but we got to get it right, man. We can't have these half-ass guys. Like Fernando Santos, yeah, he did well for us. Yeah, he's a good coach, but he's a different tier. We need like top level coaching, in my opinion. And I don't think they're the guys.
We'll see, man.
Conceição, I wish, would coach our team. That guy is young enough. Yeah. He could fire up anybody. We disagree with his antics. If I could choose one coach for this specific national team, it would be obviously he's off the table.
I would agree with that too. But all right, guys, switching gears here. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Ronaldo made history yesterday, signing a 2.5-year deal with Al Nassr of Saudi Arabia. This deal has been talked about over the last few months since obviously his parting with Manchester United. Rumors are that the total salary for this deal will reach up to 200 million euros per year once commercial agreements are included. It is a 75 million euro salary per year.
That's euros, guys, not dollars. Euros
plus commercial agreements, which they're saying could push his total earnings up to 200 million a year. And if you really want to break that down, that's 16 million euros a month, 3.8 million per week, 760,000 euros a day, 96,000 euros an hour, 1,600 euros a minute, and 26 euros a second.
And that's not a 9 to 5, boys. That's running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, man. That's $96,000 an hour. Steady.
A statement on Al Nassr's official website added that Ronaldo expressed that he is eager to experience a new football league in a different country. An additional quote from the player said, The vision with which Al Nassr operates is very inspiring, and I am excited to join my teammates. Let's help the team together to achieve more success. Al Nassr currently sits second in the Saudi League, and it will be the 5th club of Ronaldo's career, and we will see him link up with former Benfica attacker and current goal-scoring leader in the Saudi League, Anderson Talisca. It's a name that we can all
former Benfica legend
remember. Thoughts on this?
Better be breaking Messi's 91 goal seasons there. Like I talked about a little bit earlier.
I think we can both agree money is the only motivator here. I mean, you can talk about vision.
I don't think it's the only.
Talk about inspiring aspirations that the Saudi people have. I think at this point, money is the single and only motivator. Would you agree with that?
I think the only reason why he's there is because of money, but I don't think that was the only motivator. I do personally think that he tried to go to Champions League teams. As much as it's sad as me to say, we heard reports that even he tried to go to Frankfurt. Any team that's in the Champions League, it's sad to say, and it's hard for me to say given how big of a fan I am of him. I just don't think he had other options other than MLS or this Saudi deal.
Do you think Sporting was even in the cards? Do you think that was even something he looked at or that he realistically wanted?
He did, but the money is not there. A lot of his image and his branding to him to go make Sporting has a certain wage percentage. They don't go over 6 million for anybody, even Sarabia. Anybody. They don't even João Mario. That's Benfica. They do not pass it. I'm sure they can move it a little bit for Ronaldo, given what he brings in, but they cannot give him. I'm not sure. He obviously wouldn't want $200 million a year at Sporting, but he could not give him a lot of money. So I think That being said, I think that's what sort of pushed him away from Sporting. I don't think in his vision and his personality at his age, he wants to be making $6 million a season at Sporting. So I think now he's thinking, in my personal opinion, again, I'm not him, I haven't talked to him, but I think he's like, okay, nobody wants, I can't go to these Champions League sides. I'm a little bit older now. Let's fucking make some bank. Let's get my retirement plan going. And then there was reports that Sporting Kansas City wanted him, for nearly almost just as much, but he chose. I mean, we don't know officially, but given the reports that he chose the Saudi deal.
What do you think this does to his legacy?
I think his legacy is set in stone. I think much of what you said about the World Cup, nobody remembers. We're talking like right now, it's fresh. Everybody talks about it. I think 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when they look at who Cristiano Ronaldo is in FIFA 30, he'll be an icon and nobody remembers Al Nassr. They'll just remember what he did, because what he did is solidified in history. No matter what he does, he could kill somebody right now and it's still a legend. Say what you want, it's true, man. He's gonna be a legend no matter what. And it tarnishes his legacy a little bit right now. As a whole, though, I mean, is Iniesta's vision tarnished? Is Pele? He played the MLS later in his career. Suarez. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's just, I think what's really sad is the last 6 months of his fall from grace. The way he fell from grace.
Mm-hmm.
That's what saddens me the most. And that's could tarnish a little bit of his legacy. And of course, he's signing for Al Nassr and Messi won the World Cup. It's not a...
I agree. I don't think this does anything to his legacy. I think great players choose how they want to go out. And I think the best way I could put this is I think his greatness deserved a better final chapter. I think the level of greatness that he is, it deserved a much more beautiful swan song. I really do.
I agree.
And I don't think Saudi Arabia, Al Nassr is anywhere even close to deserving of his greatness and everything that he brings. I just don't, man. And I don't understand. And like you say, nobody's talked to him. We don't talk to him. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know why something wouldn't have been done to bring him to Sporting. I know. I think there could have been a lot of different creative ways to make a contract with him work. I honestly don't think he wanted it. And that's why I think this move was solely financially motivated. And this goes back to what I think in terms of Ronaldo having the wrong people around him. We only know what we see. You see Georgina on Christmas time unveiling, a $1 million Rolls Royce to Ron for a Christmas present. Everybody's seen glimpses, or if not, watched the whole show of Georgina's show on Netflix. You see how motivated this guy's life is by money. And I think it's sad because I don't think that this was the right footballing decision for him. And I think he feels that it isn't. I think he knows in his heart that this is not the right move. But I think he's got the wrong people around him, giving him the wrong advice. And you can go out there and say, go make your money, go do this, go do that. At the end of the day, this guy has more money than he'll ever need in his life. His brand he will be taken care of. He has businesses outside of Bola that will take care of him and his family for generations to come. I don't think money was really. I don't think he needs more money. I don't think he needed a 200 million euro a year salary at this point. The amount of money this guy's going to be able to make throughout the rest of his life, just in branding, in different business opportunities. My God. I mean,
He's the most followed man on earth.
it's not, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And I think he needed to take care of his footballing career. I think he needed to put his career to bed in the way that it deserved to be put to rest. And I think it could have been done a much different way. And I think everyone would have loved to have seen him return to Sporting, and he could have still played in Europe, whether it be Champions League or Europa League. Arguably, Sporting should be in any one of those two, scoring goals in his home country, bringing the Portuguese league up.
I was just about to say that you hit the fucking nail on that. That's what I was waiting to jump in and say. What Al Nassr yesterday, I checked. I actually followed him on Instagram. Was 750,000 followers. They're almost at 5 million followers within 24 hours. You just hit the nail on the head. Yeah, he's going to a rival team. Yeah, it sucked to see for rival teams. Even guys like Richie is a big Ronaldo fan, diehard Benfica fan. But what it would bring to our team, our league, the money that would come in, the viewership that would come in, everybody would know every little team. Everybody would follow it. It would just help our league as a whole. And you fucking said it perfectly. They could have been a branding deal done. It could have been done with the league. It could have been done with anything, because this guy is a business. You don't think Saudi Arabia knows what they're doing? Yeah. You think that $200 million is a loss? The amount of money this guy is going to bring in, the amount of viewership, the what he brings to any team is bar none. And like you said, he could have helped even Sporting, a team that, it's was struggling financially in the last 10 years. Yes, they're crawling back up, and it's nice to see. But he could have took him to the moon. And you want to talk about a legend? Christian? He would have had statues outside of.
No, man, 100%. And devil's advocate, like maybe they didn't want him.
Yeah,
and we were sitting here saying this, but maybe they didn't want him. Maybe they legitimately said no. We don't know.
I can't see it. They have academies named after him.
I can't see it.
There's a Cristiano Ronaldo Academy.
But maybe
I'm sure
they said no.
Yeah.
It could. Yeah. Adam's saying maybe it's not his last move. I think it is. I think he's going to be 41.
41, yeah.
41 when this contract, because he's going to be 39 now in January. This month he's going to be 39. So he's going to be 41 when this contract is up. I can't see him at that point. Maybe.
He's going to the next World Cup.
I mean, it's Ronaldo, right? So, I mean, could he be playing till he's 45? Who knows, right? Could it realistically be his second last move, and he still has a move into Sporting in the cards? We don't know. But I think he still could have, at this point in his career, he still could have gone to Portugal, and he could have helped the Liga, and he could have brought Portuguese soccer into the next level, and our league to the next level. And that in and of itself would have probably, like you said, garnered more attention. More people would have potentially wanted to come to play. It would have done so much to help the game in Portugal. But I think honestly, Ronaldo's a very emotional person, and correct me if I'm wrong. And a lot of people won't maybe agree with this statement, but I think he's a very emotional person, and I think he feels betrayed by the country. I think the way the media has gone after him, specifically in Portugal, over the last few months since this interview came out, I think he feels betrayed by the country. And I think specifically by the media, but I think even a lot of people in Portugal are very anti-Ronaldo. There's a lot of people who don't like Ronaldo in Portugal. A lot of people.
There's more people outside of Portugal that obviously we're a smaller country, but per capita that love Ronaldo more than our country because we're so divided.
It's very divided. I think what this World Cup showed, and it is really it was like you were either pro Ronaldo or anti Ronaldo, and being anti Ronaldo didn't matter. You were either pro or anti. and it was either side of the fence. And being anti-Ronaldo means, you hated him and you didn't like him, and because you didn't want him to start every game, and it was literally divided. You're either pro Portugal or you were anti-Ronaldo, and it was really weird to see the divisiveness. And I think honestly, one of the reasons he maybe didn't choose to go back to Sporting and choose to help the Portuguese league is because I feel like he feels a little bit betrayed by his own country.
You know what?
And you can see it and because we don't know because he doesn't say it, but you see the way his sisters talk. That the Portuguese people and she's vicious, man. She says Portuguese people are idiots and ignorant people, and we're ungracious and this and that, and you can kind of feel that's probably the same sentiment within that bubble, within that camp, within that bubble. It's a little bit of the same sentiment, and I honestly feel like he's the type of guy. He's emotional enough to be like, yeah, you know what, fuck you guys.
You know what though? I agree. Okay, there's two sides to every story. I think Ronaldo sometimes makes his own bed. I do agree, but one thing I will say is the Portuguese media is pretty bad. Vicious. They're vicious, but not. They make up like there's a video of him throwing the CMTV mic into the lake, and some of the things I've seen, like even watching CMTV and stuff, that's the holy grail of viciousness and shitty news. It's just malicious and divisive, and every little thing that he did is analyzed and critiqued in a negative way. And it's in a little bit like, again, he makes his own bed, but in a way it's sort of sad too, because you don't see that in Argentina. There's a whole segment in Argentina of it's all about Messi, how great he is, and comparing him to this and that. And one thing I'll give the Argentina people is, man, one of the biggest rivalries in world football. There's a good documentary I should watch about Boca Juniors and River Plate. You want to talk about divisiveness? They literally kill each other. But when it comes to Argentina, there was a video I seen when they won the World Cup, them exchanging rival jerseys, just as a sentiment of respect. There's one thing that they do is they stand behind their idols, their players, everything. And say what you want. I'm the most proud Portuguese guy, and so are you. I love Portugal, but in our culture, we have 3 freaking community calls in Edmonton, and we have like a population of like 6,000 people here max. Like we can be pretty divisive people sometimes, especially with our clubs and everything. And you see it a lot. And I think you said something great. I think maybe he is an emotional guy. We know that he is an emotional guy. Maybe that is something to do with it, because he feels betrayed, because he has given a lot to Portugal. He put us on the map. There is the pre and post Ronaldo, what he done, and it's not so much what he does on the field anymore. He's motivated a lot of young players to like 100%. Guys like Rafael, all these guys idolize him and are who they are, not because of him. Yeah, of course they put in the work, but he paved the way for these players. And yeah, he probably does feel betrayed. And if I was in his shoes, in his little bubble, I'd probably feel the same way.
But there is a saying. They say it says more not to show up than to show up and get the shit thrown at you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adam. Say that again. Adam's saying there's a saying. It says more not to show up
than to show up and get the shit thrown at you.
Than to show up and get the shit thrown at you.
He took philosophy. He dropped some crazy
some wisdom.
Crazy wisdom on us.
All right, guys, we're kind of running out of time. We still have to hit the Liga Portugal. We'll see what happens with Ronaldo and this next.
At the end of the day, it's sad to see, though. I think we can all agree. Even 100%. Messi fans, it's sad to see. They're even saying it's really sad. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see. All right, guys. Liga Portugal kicked off again after the long-awaited World Cup break. Porto kicked things off at home against Aroca. Great start for Porto, 5-1. Taremi with a hat-trick, catching up to Gonçalo Ramos for the scoring race. Otávio chipped in. It was a big result for Porto. They looked good. Looking like they didn't skip a beat. Sporting took on Paços de Ferreira. 3-0 win for Pasto Ferreira. 3-0 win for Sporting over Pasto Ferreira. Pedro Porro, Santos, and your buddy Paulinho getting in on the scoring. Sport, you had talked about a stat since the World Cup break. I think that's what you're pulling
I'm
up
going
there.
to pull it up right now. It's a pretty interesting stat. There is the pre and post Cristiano, we're on for a fucking hour. Pre and post World Cup of Sporting. And I'm going to show it here. Fixtures. So I'm going to do the math real quick. Bear with me. Yeah. So 26 goals, one against in the last 5 games.
That's huge. Man.
That's huge. And in the last 6 games, all shutouts. All shutouts, which is massive because we had some big issues.
Because the Portugal had the Taça da Liga going on while the World Cup was happening. So Sporting beat Farense 6-0, beat Rio Ave 2-0, beat Marítimo 5-0, beat Braga 5-0, and then now beat Pasto Ferreira 3-0.
That was a big one. That Braga game. That was only a few days. I mean, you can't compare 2 games because tactically things change. Okay, so it's not fair to put Braga down like that. But it was 5-0 in the first half. Yeah. Which was huge for Sporting. I think once we got those 2 early goals, obviously you got to open up. We all know the game. Things open up. You have more space. You hit him on the counter. Big results. Ruben Amorim talked about a lot prior to the World Cup because there is no Sporting players selected for the World Cup. Either and the U21 other than Inacio. Inacio finally got called up. I think they're listening to our podcast. But it gave him time. The only players that left was Morata, Ugarte, and Coates. So it gave him time to reset. It was pretty much like another off season. And I mean, so far it's early, but so far it seems like it's been working. Our offense is flying. We tactically tweaked a few things. And yeah, we're looking really good, man. The Sporting that I expected and most people that I expected, knock on wood, are looking like they're here.
We'll see if they can keep it up.
And for Benfica, I'm not going to dive into it. I think they had a lot of players go out. They were at a high. They were molded. They were, I mean, say what you want, whether you're a rival or not. They were playing amazing football. Great results against PSG. I think that separation sort of, I mean, it's early, it's one game, but it sort of shook things up again. They gotta get back on track.
Yeah, Benfica went to Braga, and unfortunately, Benfica suffered a loss of 3-0. Ricardo Horta getting a brace. It was a sad day. Honestly, I think you're right, Christian. I think the break we had a lot of players out. I think the team didn't play all that well during the offseason too, and partially because the team has been so kind of centered around its core, and that core was away for the most of the break. I mean, we had João Mario away, we had Gonçalo Ramos away, we had Antonio Silva away, we had Otamendi away, we had Enzo Fernandez away, we had who am I missing here? We had Ba, who was with Denmark away as well. So, I mean, we had a number of players out. I mean, that's, 6 players who are normally in our starting 11 out. So I think the team was a little bit off in terms of coming back. Chemistry wasn't quite there. I think it was an important loss, I'll be honest with you. Because I think, when you're undefeated, you get a little bit complacent. You think you're, untouchable, this and that. And I think this was a good balde água fria for the team to kind of be like, wake up, and we need to fix some things. And I do have confidence in Rogério that he's going to make the changes needed to get the team back on track.
Of course. And it had happened to every other team other than Benfica. And it's paid dividends. Like it happened to Sporting. Yeah. A little bit more than you guys, unfortunately, but it happened to Port. Port took a couple of bad losses.
Yeah, and sometimes you need that. And I honestly think it was as much as it sucked. I think they needed it, and I think it's going to set them on the right track for the rest of the year, because I think Benfica needs to have a big year in Champions League. I think we can go at least to the next round of Champions League. I think we can definitely beat Club Brugge. The one thing we're going to have to look at is how this team shakes out after the transfer market, because after the World Cup, one particular name might leave, and that's Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez stock went through the roof, being the young player of the tournament. And of course, with the World Cup win, they're talking about Enzo Fernandez wearing a Chelsea jersey come January, come February.
And I was listening to a podcast. They said this was one of the best deals done in the last like 15 to 20 years of how cheap you guys got him for.
Well, Fabrizio Romano broke the news, talking about potentially, and we know when Romano speaks, it's usually very accurate. He was talking about, very, very close to the $120 million release clause paid. A lot of guys are looking at him. They're saying that Enzo has already said yes to Chelsea, and now it's just a matter of them getting the deal done. If Benfica lose Enzo at this point in the season, it's going to be very, very difficult to replace him. And he is a very, very important part of this team. And rumors are that Rui Costa is really keen on trying to keep him, but it's going to be very, very hard to turn down a $120 million offer. I mean, if they pay the release clause, it is what it is. But it's going to be very hard to replace Enzo at this point. There's been rumors that Benfica could actually go after McAllister from Brighton, the other Argentinian midfielder. I mean, with 120 mil, we need to go pick up somebody big. But again, to get them integrated into the team and to get them playing the way that Rogério already had these guys played, it's going to be tough, man, to fill that void if Enzo leaves.
Especially midfield position at such a vital position.
He's just been so good for Benfica this year. Like, he has been so fucking good, man. Like, to
and he came in right away. There was no jitters.
No, nothing. Right away, right off the bat, scoring goals, and he's a phenomenal player, man. He's a phenomenal player. So I really, really hope Benfica can hang on to him. But if we lose Enzo, it's going to be a crater in that midfield to try and fill.
Yeah, and I'm sure. So I'm looking from the outside looking in. I'm sure Rui Costa also wants to keep him before. There's a big game coming up on the 15th. It became even bigger with this loss with Braga, because you guys were still are in a way, but you guys were 8 points up on Port. You guys were 12 points up on Sporting. This goes on. Now with this loss, now you're 5 points up. You have a derby game on the 15th. Somehow, in the way Sporting's playing, it's possible that they can win. Now you're within 2 points.
Yep.
That's a big game. So I'm sure Rui Costa is looking at that, doesn't want to lose, especially a big pillar. Like you said, it's a big pillar. There's an adjustment period. If you're going to lose an Enzo Fernandez, you need to get somebody in there. Even if it's McAllister, he's not going to come in right away and, and be like, so he's thinking about all these things.
Yeah.
And I mean, how can you say no to 120 million? No.
Well, like I say, if they play the release clause, that's it, man.
He's gone.
And it's up to the player and the club. So we'll see. As it stands right now, guys, Benfica sitting in first place with 37 points. Porto in second with 32 points. Braga in third with 31 points. Sporting is in fourth with 28 points. Casa Pia in fifth with 26 points. And in sixth place is Vitória de Guimarães with 23 points. Next week, guys, Braga is receiving Santa Clara on the 5th. Benfica versus Portimonense on the 6th.
Big game.
Porto goes to Casa Pia on the 7th. Also a big game because, as I just mentioned, Casa Pia is 5th right now. And Sporting goes to Madeira to play Marítimo.
Never easy.
Also a tough game for them.
Without Pots,
although Marítimo is sitting in 17th right now. So so those are the upcoming fixtures for the league. And as Christian mentioned, the following week on the 15th, we've got derby action, Sporting versus Benfica.
So these games, historically, going into a derby game, those are always tricky games because it's not the same. Because you don't want to get some players are riding yellows. They get one more yellow, they miss the next game. That's in their minds.
100%.
If you get a red, then you have the pressure of not losing before the derby game. Those are tough games, man. And especially, I think the toughest game, not on paper, but right now it's for Benfica. They took a big loss. It happens. Happened to us. Happened to Porto. Took a big loss. That's how they react now. Because now if they drop points against Portimonense, which I don't think will happen, but hypothetically speaking, now you're going into a derby game.
Portimonense is a tricky team.
Yeah, they're a tricky team.
Easy. Portimonense has I think it was just double check here. I'm pretty sure they're the ones that beat thought they were the ones that beat Porto. No, but they're always a tricky team.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a big game for them.
All right, guys, that kind of wraps it up. So we'll see what happens with the Liga. We'll see what happens with Ronaldo's next phase. I don't know if he will play in Al Nassr's next game. It'd be interesting. Abubakar is also on that team, which is
And Luis Gustavo.
And Luis Gustavo. So they've got a couple of names there. I never thought I'd see Ronaldo and Anderson Talisca on the same
best duo in Europe.
What's that?
Best duo in Europe.
Best.
I'm just kidding.
Anderson
One more thing
Talisca,
before we wrap up. There's going to be a big friendly game in a month. It's going to be PSG Al Nassr.
Al Nassr, yeah.
That's going to be cool. Maybe the last time you get to see Messi, Ronaldo.
Messi versus Ronaldo.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
See.
I'll be tuning in. I follow them on Instagram.
Oh, you followed him, yeah?
I was, I liked Al Nassr since I was a kid. You know that, right? I'm not just following them because it's Ronaldo. But...
I'll get you a jersey, man.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New
and
Year.
all the best, guys. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Love you guys all.
Ciao.